Item F.
Ah,
If they try to sneak some extra money.
are you gonna go, or what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
No, because I saw the budget, they're keeping it the same, they're keeping it flat.
Yeah, that's before they meet. Things change.
You gonna go?
Is it in person?
Yeah, it's at the COG building. Can we do it Zoom? Well, let's talk this week, see what we wanna do.
There's a Zoom link.
Yeah. It's just, listen, if it was any other meeting, but I don't want to hang out with any of them. That's my outlaw voice.
Try sneaking in under the wire.
Hello.
If you get cold, I don't know what to tell you. I'm gonna get hot, because I'm gonna be talking, so I got the window open.
Oh, that's nice out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's up to you, but he's got a legitimate reason.
Yeah. I just want to make sure you didn't change his mind. It's gonna show up.
Oh,
I don't think so. No, he was told not to come.
since when you guys listen to me?
Exactly. That's why I asked.
I'm like, listen, family first, but when do you guys ever listen to me? I'm a little upset, I'm not gonna get a standing ovation tonight, like last year.
Sorry.
Where's your people, Gavin? I'm disappointed in you, where's your people? Because your people that class last year for me. Disappointed. The other thing is, because we made this room so good, people sit home now. I want you.
Yeah.
Because you can actually hear now. Did you ever go back and listen to the videos?
Yeah.
The way it was.
Yeah, it's nice.
Brutal. It's like church, nobody sits in the front row.
All right, everyone's all set?
I'm good. Oh, we're.
Good evening. Today is Monday, April the 6th, 2026. It's 7 p.m. I'd like to call the regular Board of Selectmen's meeting to order.
Troy Lemire.
Kevin Bishop.
Paul Harrington.
Todd Oshalashi.
Glenn Albanesius.
William Hester.
Cheryl Henry Woodland.
William Bozo.
Selectman Marino is excused. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, agenda review. Does anyone have anything? Item 4, the approval of our minutes from the regular meeting on March 16th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? Corrections, additions, subtractions? Seeing none, all in favor? 6-0. The approval of minutes of the special meeting on March 17th.
So moved.
Thank you, Troy. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? So, 402. 402? Yeah.
There was 2 abstentions?
Yes, Kevin and Cheryl.
Sorry, okay.
Item 5, citizens' comments. The Board of Selectmen welcomes public comments. Speakers be limited to 3 minutes and may speak once. Who would like to speak? Just make sure you turn on the.
Yeah, you gotta push the button.
You're a pro now.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say come in peace. I wanted to attend today. I hope I'm not stealing Town Manager Harrington's thunder, but I am aware that all of the dogs that were seized in the Sarah Smollett case are in safe, permanent, forever homes that are wonderful places for them, and it has been a very long year of working on this case very intently with a lot of other people, but we are extremely grateful that errors that were previously made were corrected. Town Manager Harrington has been wonderful to work with and speak with, listening to my concerns and others' concerns regarding the needs of the dogs, and just a really happy ending for all of the dogs that have undergone such trauma. They're going to live very happy lives now, and I just wanted to say thank you. That's it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Who else wishes to speak? Anyone?
So I have, was sent and something to speak from Christy.
Do you want to do it now or in correspondence?
Well, she wants this part of public comment.
Okay.
So I figured she's asked me to read it for public comment. She says, "Good evening, I'm speaking tonight in support of the town budget, specifically the education budget. It is important to recognize that the current proposed education budget has already been reduced by $500,000, which already puts it below maintaining last year's level of services. This means we are already operating at a deficit, not an increase. Further cuts to our pre-K through 6 schools would have significant and very real consequences for students. These could include the loss of all specials, art, music, physical education, as well as up to a 40-minute reduction in the elementary school days. These are not minor adjustments. They fundamentally change the educational experience we provide to our children. Additionally, reducing the elementary school day would create ripple effects across the district because the shared busing changes to the pre-K 6 level would also impact schedules for grades 7 through 12. The Board of Education has taken a responsible step forward by approving a motion for the superintendent to conduct a comprehensive independent study to guide future decisions and budgets. That work is underway and will provide valuable long-term insight, but tonight is about the present. Right now, we need to support our schools, our educators, and most importantly, the children of this community. Further reductions at this stage would do lasting harm while we are actively working towards more sustainable, informed solutions. I respectfully urge you to support the education budget as proposed. Thank you. That's from Christine Ryder. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, moving right along. Item 6, Town Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, Board. Yes, public input did take a little bit of the limelight away, but happy to report that over the weekend, the 11 dogs that were associated with the Smolak case have now been successfully adopted or in the process. There are 2 where the adoption papers have gone out to the Forever Homes. We're just waiting for their signatures to come back and it'll be finalized. It really marks the final steps of this very complex, time-sensitive issue. I was the first one to say I've never dealt with a dog case of this nature in all my years in municipal government. Talking with a few of the Board of Selectmen, they said the exact same thing. And it was a tremendous effort by all. But I need to give a shout out to really one group and one individual, is Lucky Dog Refuge in Stamford. They were brought on by the town to do all of the vetting of where these 10 dogs should be adopted into their forever homes. The Herculean effort that Lucky Dog did to make sure that these dogs were going into safe homes was intense. The rubrics, the reporting that was given back to the town with their recommendations, there were no other choices to make other than to take what Lucky Dog was suggesting. They literally went out to everybody's home, and in some homes they didn't go with them. They went with a different home and they gave the reasons why. Lucky Dog, thank you on behalf of the town. Your work was tremendous in helping us find these dogs forever home. And then last but not least, a small shout out to Detective Crean on Friday. He got up at about 4 o'clock in the morning, went down and actually got 2 of the dogs that we were gonna move to another home. We thought maybe it was going to be confrontational, that we were gonna take these dogs and move them to another home. Detective Crean, the second we asked him to do the job, he signed on and said, I'll do it on Friday. I'll leave here at 4:30 in the morning and I'll go down and get the dog. So thank you, Detective Crean, but I can happily say that this is now really in our rearview mirror. Moving on, 27 budget season, post-development phase. Obviously, the town manager's proposed 27 budget has been submitted, scheduled for presentation tonight. We are shifting from budget development to identifying additional cost containment strategies. The next phase includes evaluating alternate approaches to service delivery and identifying opportunities to reduce expenditures where possible beyond the initial proposal. In parallel, we are preparing a comprehensive public communication effort through the town's websites and social media platform to ensure residents are well informed and have multiple opportunities to engage in the budget process. We tried last year, we went on the radio, we went on websites, we went on social media. Still, even in our office, we heard that we didn't know. We're gonna make it even more of a presence to let everybody know budget process and everything. Moving on, Safe Streets for All survey is now live on the town's website and social media page. I did look prior to coming down, some people on social media reporting the link doesn't work. But then I've gotten a bunch of other residents saying that the link does work. If it doesn't work, my suggestion to you is maybe try a different browser. It did work for me on the several attempts that I went in, worked for a lot of other our residents. So if you're having problems with that Safe Street for All link, I urge you to maybe try a different browser.
Well, the issue was when people were trying to link it from the neighbors page, the link didn't work because it was shared to the neighbors page. You have to go to the original post on the town page, and then the link works.
Well, thank you. I did not know that. When in doubt, always go to our social media page then. It's where all the good stuff is. But and then also click on the town's website. But more importantly, what Safe Streets for All is ultimately going to do is it's going to give us a report at the end. Remember, this is a $250,000 grant that was given to us by the federal government to go out and explore our streets. Once we have this report, we can then go after even bigger dollars from our state and from our federal delegation to go after and try and get these streets fixed once and for all without burdening the taxpayer. So if you have 8 to 10 minutes, please click on the link, fill out the survey. Your input is very valuable to us, and it's going to help us determine the final report to then go after and use this report. Because usually a lot of the times when you're applying for state dollars or federal dollars, these people want to see real information, information that's been quantified. This report is going to unlock that for us. So please take 8 to 10 minutes. I'm going to say it in hope that you don't wait. The survey will be up for 2 months because we are trying to get as much data as we possibly can. But don't wait 2 months. Do it tonight, do it tomorrow, maybe during the UConn game. There's a halftime. Click on it and fill it out for us. 2 more quick updates. 44 Elm Street was a police headquarters feasibility study, which was funded in this year's budget. That finally is completed. I'll put the number out there. Total estimate project cost is $12.8 million. I have the report. I can send it to the board if they so wish to see it. And last but not least, payroll system RFP update. We closed our RFP, I believe it was 2 weeks ago. 6 submissions. We did an initial review. We shortlisted the vendors. We're inviting in the shortlist next week for interviews to hopefully get a final selection in the not so distant future. We're going to go to an automatic payroll. Or our hopes are to go to an automatic payroll.
Questions from the board? You're getting off easy tonight. No questions.
And I did bring 2 bottles of water, so that means, you know, I got a big talking bit coming up.
Item 7, correspondence. Does anyone have anything? Item 8, boards and commissions. Kevin, Bill?
So I'm very happy to say we have many people for appointments and reappointments tonight. I wanted to ask, should we make a motion on each one, or should I read them all?
Do them each individually.
Each individually, yep. Okay. So for reappointment, we have Deborah Jablonski for the Cultural District Commission, party unaffiliated, with a term ending in April of 2028.
You said a motion?
Oh, I make a motion to.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Troy. Any discussion?
Yes, you read and make the motion.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? Congratulations. Next.
Okay, I make a motion for reappointment of Jamie Colligan for the Inland Wetlands Commission, party unaffiliated, a member with a term ending April 2029.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Congratulations.
I make a motion to reappoint Kurt Williams to the Recreation Board, party unaffiliated, for a member seat ending in April of 2032.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, congratulations.
We have one resignation from Ben Davis from the Winchester Housing Authority, who's a resident, member seat.
Thank you for your service, Mr. Davis.
All right, we have 4 new nominations. I make a motion to appoint Annie Trepanier to the Cultural District Commission, party unaffiliated, member seat ending April of 2028.
Second. Good job with the name.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
I make a motion to appoint Stephen Larson to the Cultural District Commission, party unaffiliated, member seat ending April of 2028.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
I make a motion to appoint Lara Green Kozlowskis to the Cultural District Commission, Democratic Party, member seat ending April of 2029.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
And I make a motion to appoint John Noon to the Cultural District Commission, party unaffiliated, member seat ending April of 2029.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Congratulations to all.
And I just had one question.
Yep.
So the Cultural District Commission has not yet been functioning. It was something that was created in 2022, and then we never had enough members. As of tonight, we have 5 members who have now been appointed, and we have a quorum. I believe they can start meeting now. As someone who is a nonprofit arts director in my regular day job, I wanted to ask, since we did not appoint a liaison to this commission at the beginning of the year, or the season, that I could be appointed as the liaison.
Go right ahead.
Congratulations.
I'll just say publicly, can you give me a jingle tomorrow? We're gonna wanna set up a meeting time and place.
Yes.
In terms of where you guys wanna meet, make sure we have rooms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Anything else? Before we move on from that, I do want to mention that we have multiple openings in the Laurel Commission, and the Laurel Ball and the Laurel Festival is coming up shortly. It's a long storied history for the town of Winchester. We need to make sure that this event continues, so if you would like to volunteer for the Laurel City Commission, please reach out to the town manager's office. Item 9, unfinished business, we have nothing. Item 10, new business, Pearson Roof Project Building Committee resolutions. Town Manager Harrington and Roger LaFleur.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You wanna come
Come on up, Roger. Hit the microphone. I'll just recap it really quick. As we know, we had a referendum not so long ago. The town passed the resolution to do the Pearson Roof Project at roughly $2.8 million. There's a few steps that we need to take in order to start unlocking that. Roger is here tonight, who is the consultant that the town and the Board of Ed is bringing on. And I said it best, I think, at the public hearing, town meeting that night, was Roger's gonna make sure we maximize every dollar we can get back from the state. So Roger's here tonight, making sure that we're checking all the boxes to make sure we get every dollar back from the state. With that, I'm gonna continue to cough. Roger, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Just hit the mic button.
Break and some water.
Yeah, tell me.
There's a series of requirements that the state has when you submit a grant application. And these resolutions that I've put before you tonight that you have to vote on are 5 of them. 3 have to do with the formality of developing a building committee, actually submitting an application to the state, and then bringing on someone like an architect so you can do some schematic drawings. Those are the first 3. The other 2 are in response to the funding requirements. Now, you already had your town meeting and you voted for that chunk of money for the roof. That's one of the things we're gonna need certified minutes from. I'll have to talk to you about that. And then the 2 resolutions specifically tonight talk about the amount of money that's going to be used on the roof and the town share. Okay, so the state wants to they want it in writing and they want it through a selectman's vote that you've got skin in the game, and that's their way of getting it. So that's pretty much it on the funding resolutions.
So as you see, I think attached in your packet were the 5 resolutions. We can talk about establishing the building committee, doing that resolution. We're not going to, well, I shouldn't say we're not. That just says we're gonna establish one, and then Roger and I spoke that we will probably put it out for applications, get a bunch of interested applicants, and then eventually have the board vote on it. But tonight's resolution is just that we will establish a building committee, but we're not going to appoint names tonight. And fast forward a little bit, I did create, I'm getting used to this board a little bit, I did create an application that we can talk about a little bit later, to see what y'all think, and then we could put it out, you know, on our different channels if y'all wanted to go down that route. So, the first one being, unless a select member wants to read it, it seems pretty simple that the Board of Selectmen authorize the Winchester Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Education and to accept or reject a grant for the roof project at the Isabella M. Pearson School.
I'll make that motion to authorize the Board of Selectmen, to authorize the Winchester Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Education and to accept or reject a grant for the roof project at the Isabel M. Pearson School.
Second. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
I'm gonna skip the second one because I think I wanna do something a little creative with that one, and we'll jump down to the third one. The Board of Selectmen hereby authorize at least the preparation of a schematic drawing and outline specifications of the roof project at the Isabella M. Pearson School. Pretty self-explanatory.
Motion.
Thank you, Troy. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Bill. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
Third one, the Winchester Board of Selectmen hereby authorizes the expenditure of 100% of the project revenues, $2,898,670 to complete the Isabella M. Pearson School roof project.
Motion.
Thank you, Troy. Second. Thank you, Bill. Discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
And second to last one, the Winchester Board of Selectmen hereby authorize the financing of the local share of $807,569 for the Isabella Pearson School roof project.
Motion.
Second. Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Bill. Any discussion? Just make sure you correct that of, not for, on the motion. All in favor? Unanimous?
And last but not least, the Board of Selectmen authorizes the establishment of a building committee for the roof project for the Isabella M. Pearson School. I thought we would have a little conversation about it. I did prepare a small application as I was waiting in between meetings tonight. If the board wanted to go in this direction, obviously name, address, phone number, their contact information, residency availability, how long you've lived in Winchester, are you able to attend regular meetings, evening meetings may be required, are you able to commit for the duration of the project, relevant experience. I've got, check boxes: construction, engineering, architecture, project management, finance, budgeting, facilities management, government/public service, and then I have the other box. Briefly describe your experience and qualifications, interest in the committee, why are you interested in serving on the Pearson School Roof Building Committee, and why do you believe it is most important to ensure the success of this project. Any conflict of interest, do you or an immediate family member have any financial interest in a business that may bid or participate in this project? That's important to put out there as well. If yes, please explain. References are optional, and then we just ask for a signature that, all of the information that they put. This was just something I put together quickly before coming down here. No pride in ownership. Well, there's some pride in ownership because I did make it, but subject if you wanted me to change it in any way or what your pleasure is in terms of, I think we should do the resolve tonight, right, Roger? That we're gonna form the building committee.
Yeah. And one last thing is, if you can, when you're doing the minutes, I suspect, so those three have to stay together and the funding ones have to stay together, even though you did them on a different order, because they get uploaded as separate documents.
So question, how many people do you plan on having on this committee?
Roger, what's typical on it? I've seen them as 5, I've seen them as 9.
5 to 7 is typical, and if they get too large, sometimes they get a little unwieldy, so.
So next question is, are selectmen allowed to be on this committee? Because me and Bill have a big interest in this, so, and both of us are capable to be on that committee.
I think that's going into what the board would or wouldn't like to
Peterson,
do.
or the Hinsdale Building Committee, the
Did have-
mayor sat on.
They did have,
Did
yeah.
have
It
select.
did have some select,
Yeah, but that was a very large committee too.
Yeah, I think that was
with
a dozen.
I would think that with a smaller committee like this, you know, one or another, I don't think you really want to have a lot of selectmen involved, because then that's like, we're doing it, you know? So, you know, depending on the size of the committee, you know, unless we're just having a selectman as an advisory position, like we did with the charter commission. That's where my concern is, that it shouldn't be elected officials controlling the process. We want the people involved, you know, in it, and, you know, that regard, that's my thought process.
I don't think it's more of a control thing, if anything, it's
It's
more
an
of an
oversight.
oversight committee, because we have the experience in this. Both of us do this stuff for a living, so that's why.
And so do other members of our community.
Right.
You know, and there's,
Right.
we don't wanna have everyone, you know, being just in the construction. You wanna have some variety, people have common sense and have little life experience or knowledge base that would be a contribution if they're not in the construction industry. So, what my point is I think it depends on the size of the committee, how many board of selectmen would be appropriate on the board. And the other thing is, if we are forming this committee and it's the board of selectmen is choosing the members, then members who are seeking to be on the committee should not have a vote in, right? They should be recused from voting on the membership.
So if I can make a recommendation, why don't we put the application out? I think we should do the resolution that we're going to form a building committee. The good news is Roger and I were talking a little bit before the meeting, and then we obviously spoke several times on the phone. We are getting way out in front of this. Remember, this isn't a this summer build, it's a next summer. We got a long runway, but we like having the long runway because you never know what could happen along the way. Our thought practice is Roger won't come back until probably, we're gonna go to RFP in May, we're gonna put the RFP out. For architect, excuse me, RFP, the RFP is actually done. We wanted to wait a little bit, because A, we wanted to form the building committee, we wanted to give you all time to do that. Building committee will obviously search the RFPs, so we're thinking about posting that sometime in May. So that gives us a ramp up of 30, 45 days to get the building committee established. My recommendation to the board is, if you like this application, I can go live with it, we can see the responses that we get, and then we can, you know, form the committee based off of that. I ask you, we did this with charter revision, I like that you did this, give me an end date. That the applications are
I
due.
think the application seems very comprehensive, and depends on how well people fill it out. So, but for an end date, you know, 3 weeks?
Just wanna look at calendars real quick, so today's
Or we
the.
can go the Friday before the first meeting in.
So we have a meeting on the 20th, which is 2 weeks, and then we have, our next meeting is May 4th. May the force be with you. Sorry, Star Wars guy. So,
So the first would be that Friday?
so the the first would be that Friday. I mean, I'm ready to go tomorrow morning. I gotta dress it up a little bit, put our logo on it, fillable PDF stuff that's gonna take me 30, 40 minutes to do that. I'll have this up before lunch tomorrow. Because the board would take action conceivably on the 4th, right? Do you want a little bit more time to digest all of the applications? I'll send them as one, you know, I'll gather them all and then send one big email to all of you. We could have it due on May 1st, we could have it due on the 24th. It's,
We have time, so why don't you just push it off to the 24th?
you wanna go, 24th gives you
That's
3 weeks.
That's 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah.
Wanna go May 24th, or excuse me, April 24th?
You gave it 24th, yeah, sounds
Okay.
good.
And listen, that's what we're gonna, if we get no response in the first week, I can report back to all of you, hey, we might wanna kick this out there a little bit. But, all right, so April
Not gonna
20,
be too jammed up with budget between now and the 24th, are we?
No, because we're not gonna take, because we have to decide, the budget has to be done by April 24th, right? This is all gonna be behind the scenes stuff, office. We'll get the applications out to you on April 24th or, the following Monday. You'll have a full week to digest them all, and then you'll need to take action on that May 4th meeting. I do need the motion to form a building committee. Actually, you should dress it all up.
I'd like to make a motion that the Board of Selectmen authorize the establishment of a building committee for the roof project at Isabel M. Pearson School, allowing 7 members, no more than 2 selectmen, and 5 members of the public.
I would ask for a friendly amendment to exclude those restrictions before the board has an opportunity to look at who applies, whether that may be. So just the formation of the building committee should be sufficient for the motion that we need for the state right now. And then as far as.
You don't need to know how many members?
I know you guys are in discussion, but Roger wanted to.
I'll be honest with you, my concern, the state is very prescriptive. And so when they actually form that language, so I want to make sure that you folks stick to that language.
Okay.
You can do whatever you want with the building committee. That's a decision you can make however you want to, but the motions have to read that way.
Okay, I'll fix my motion to read what it says on the resolved and leave it at that.
Second.
Thank you, Troy. Thanks, Cheryl. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
And to reiterate, I will get this application out tomorrow with a due date of April 24th, with action from the board on May 4th.
I just have a question. I'm just curious, this is my first time, seeing this sort of committee be formed. I know that in other boards and commissions, we have a hard time finding people. Is this the sort of thing where people are eager to apply to?
Who knows?
It depends. I've seen building committees sometimes form with a lot of excitement, and then I've seen begging people to,
The Hinsdale committee was rather large.
well, yeah, Hinsdale had, I went back and looked at stuff.
That was a pretty project. This is a
Yeah.
roof.
Yeah. it's
You're not gonna
as-
get 275 applications in a
No.
week going, oh, I wanna do the roof, I wanna do the roof.
Roofs can be exciting.
Well, it's
Prevent leaks.
exciting, but
How's the voice?
We got water, we should be good. I'm not coughing.
All right, item B.
Roger, thank you.
No problem.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you, Roger.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, Roger.
Roger.
Item B, public hearing, fiscal year 26-27 town budget. Town Manager Harrington.
All right, I'm gonna stand up. I warn you all that we all know there was a holiday over this past weekend. I have young kids. The Easter Bunny came, candy was delivered. If you know me, I like you.
Most of it.
Just a point of order on that.
Yes.
This is the public hearing, so the public can still ask questions and have a dialogue through a public hearing. So we're not limited to the public comment. That's correct?
A public hearing, we can open it up to questions at the end of it, if there's
That's the requirement for a public
questions.
hearing.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure people know that if they want to talk, and we will have an exchange, will occur during this portion of the meeting.
I'm good.
Thank you.
All right, so, this is for fiscal year 2027, start date actually July 1st, 2026. I think it's important, and I say this every year, is what is the budget process, right? It just doesn't, come upon us over the next, few weeks. It actually started way back in October, but before that, in June, the Board of Selectmen actually voted and adopted the approved budget that went to referendum and set the mill rate at 29.17. Keeping in mind that when you approve, the voters approve a budget, they approve the overall dollar line. It's the Board of Selectmen that actually then set the mill rate after the budget is approved. This year was a good year, because the budget passed on the first shot. So I had a little bit of a summer. We got a little bit more things done. We got some economic activity done. We're gonna talk about that a little bit later. So it was a good year, but in October, we were back into planning for this year's budget. And we started it off with our capital improvement plan. And we had a meeting with all of our department heads, and we started to look at, what capital requests could be coming in, what capital requests are still out there, and that began in October of 2025. November, department leaders submitted
their capital request to the budget office. So they sat down, they had a month, figured out, okay, do I need an excavator? Do I need a plow truck? Do I need, new chairs? Whatever they needed, they submitted, and that was due to us in November. In December, we sent out blank operating budgets, so all of our department heads, which gave them zero-based budgeting. We said, okay, what do you need in order to operate your budget beginning July 1st, 2026? We sent them out a bunch of blank documents. They started working on that. In January, the department heads were done and they submitted the formal requests to the budget office. Then in February, myself, Tom, Anne Marie sat down with all of our department heads one-on-one and literally went line by line by line by line. There's a few department heads in here right now. They know that we went line by line by line by line and looked at every possible number. We also then looked at historical data as well to say, okay, what's the historical run rates of these particular lines. The assessor's office submitted the 2025 grand list in February. We're going to go through that, which would be, I believe, our next slide. And then in March, I finalized what's called as the town manager proposed budget. After tonight, it will no longer be the town manager's proposed budget, although online it will say that. But after tonight, once the Board of Selectmen start talking about it, it will then be Board of Selectmen proposed. And then March 13th was when I submitted. Superintendent of Schools, hey, Dr. Luby. She presented the education budget to the Board of Selectmen. We did that over at the school just 2 weeks ago. Seems like yesterday. We have positive momentum going on in this town. You've heard that Winstead's potential for years. We're now capitalizing on this potential. And folks, this isn't potential that I did. This is potential that has been worked on for many, many years. You're going to hear slides down the road exactly the investments that we made are finally paying off. But some quick, momentum that we have going on. Marshall's came in. Domino's Pizza came in. When I say Domino's, I was like, oh, well, they're pizza, or Marshall's. Those are national tenants moving in to Winstead. And that's exciting because we are on the radar of national companies. There are conversations happening each and every day with even bigger national companies that I can't mention yet, but they're exciting, that want to move into this town. 508, 516 Main Street, a couple of meetings ago, and I put it up on our social media pages and our town's website, the development, the millions of dollars of investment, private dollars that are going to be pumped into our Main Street to create this condominium. Wallens Hill redevelopment, the Board of Selectmen, prior Board of Selectmen, went out to an RFQ statute to get that 118 acres developed. Happy to report, I should have the report from Goldman and York of the 3 proposals that were submitted. I hopefully will have it this week. I've been promised for it this week. This is an unbiased, great company looking at the 3 proposals and giving us the fiscal impact, the school impact, and the overall impact of the town. From that, I know the board's been waiting probably patiently, maybe not as patient, but we're going to finally get to talk about the proposals that came in. But I thought it was important that I give you all that information. Lake Street development, 108 Lake Street. Remember, it was the old convalescent home. It was a blighted property. If you haven't been up there, go up there. I had one of our officers go, oh my God, Paul, I didn't know this was happening. That building is becoming a beautiful parcel, and there'll be residents that move in here at market rate apartments, not affordable housing. These will be, normal rentals that people can move into, and that's exciting. And as I said earlier, there is so much more to come. I wish I could blurt it all out, but there's more on the horizon, and it's going to get really, really exciting around here. The town's actions are reinforcing growth. Sale of town-owned properties. The prior Board of Selectmen, this Board of Selectmen, they're looking at properties, key properties on the town's list to say, okay, we can sell this property. Maybe we'll get a house built there. Maybe we'll get a garage built here. So we're returning some of these properties to our tax rolls, which will drive long-term value. Public investment is enabling continued progress on the Sue Grossman Still River Trail completion, water and sewer expansion, long overdue facility upgrades are all in the pipeline. And building this momentum has not been easy.
and keeping it going has been even harder. But this board, myself, and our entire team at Town Hall are dedicated to unleashing the full potential of this town. And not only do I want to say the team here, the Board of Selectmen, and myself, but we have wonderful residents that volunteer a ton of hours. I think they're all on board with unleashing the full potential of this town as well. So here we go. Let's talk about the grand list. And this is the first start of how we put a whole budget together. And I'm so happy about this slide, because for 2 years, I had to report a grand list decrease. Happy to report we actually have a grand list increase this year of just about $5.7 million. You can see that the real estate grew about $4.9 million. BAA adjustments, $355. We put $1 million in to the BAA. When I formed this budget, BAA hasn't officially met. They listen to any appeals that possibly come through. One of the first items that we'll take when we get into workshops is we actually have a real number now. BAA has made all their adjustments. So we're actually south of that $1 million adjustments that we put into the budget. Motor vehicle grand list grew about $1.5 million. Our personal property took a slight dip, $367,000. Happens from time to time, but overall grand list grew just about $5.8 million, which is exciting. And what does that mean, right? That doesn't mean I have an extra $5.7 million to inject in the budget, but roughly at today's mill rate, 29.17, it's an extra $120,000. It's far better than 2 years in a row I had to come up here and report a decline. So we're going in the right directions. We shouldn't stop. Revenues. It's one of the things that I talk about most. I know Selectman Hester will appreciate this. I actually don't worry about the expense side of the budget. Sure I do, I'm a town manager. I do worry about the expense side. But even with our home budgets, if your paycheck's really, really big, it's easy to pay all the expenses. So I try and concentrate a lot of my effort on the revenues, because if I can maximize revenues, paying the expenses becomes very, very easy. So let's take a breakdown of what the revenues look like. My favorite slide too, state aid. Anyone see something that looks familiar?
Yeah.
Hey, it's the same number,
A whole bunch of
roughly
zeros.
$8.9 million from the state last year, and $8.9 million this year. Zero increase. Meanwhile, the state of Connecticut is sitting on billions and billions of dollars of surplus money. And yet, not just us, but in other towns, we are flat with our state aid. Most importantly, you'll see the ECS, that's $7.8 million, has again continued to stay at $7.8 million. I think it's important to talk a little bit about ECS. Questions have come up at Board of Education meetings. Questions came up a few weeks ago at the Board of Education meeting with the Board of Selectmen. What is ECS? What does it all mean? The town expects to take in $7.8 million in ECS funding. The total amount of education, to educate our kids from pre-K3 all the way up to 21 years of age, is going to be just over $26 million in this proposed budget. This $7.8 million helps to offset that $26 million. We then roughly have $18 million of taxpayer. The word burden is such a bad word, but I couldn't think of a better word. It's not a burden, it's just a taxpayer ask of $18 million to fund the remaining portion of the total Board of Education budget. There was an ask of, well, this one gets this and this one doesn't get that. No. In the way I have to look at a budget, Board of Education is $26 million in the town budget. That gets offset by $7.8 million of ECS funding from the state of Connecticut. There's no magic formula. I can't only just give the Board of Ed $18 million. That money does come directly to the town, $7.8 million, right? And I don't actually write it to anybody. It just stays in our coffers. But at the end of June 30th, any year, the Board of Education has the amount of money that's in that budget that was approved. Right? So I don't write them an $8 million check. We write them a $26 million check if this budget gets approved. Nobody gets the money, right? I give Julie, hi Dr. Libby,
$26 million if this project gets approved. Roughly $23 million this year by the end of June 30th. That will be the town money that goes to Julie. They don't get any direct ECS money. All the money comes into our coffers, then we write a check directly to WPS, and they disperse it out to their vendors or in payroll and all of that. So hopefully that explains ECS. Towards the end, if you still have questions about it, I'm willing to take them on. This is a pie graph that just shows how we're gonna pay for a 43,880 budget. We did a $43,880,000 budget this year. Years past, I don't know why it never dawned on me to make a nice round number. It's easier to just say. But roughly 75% of a $43 million budget is being funded by property taxes. State aid is a roughly 20%. And then you have a lot of smaller little categories, but charges for services, licenses and permits, interest and dividends, other revenues and transfers in from other funds. But really the main portion is obviously property taxes. State aid at 20%. I can't say it loud enough. State aid needs to increase. It really, really does. And the small little categories as well. But every little dollar you can get in other categories is one less thing we have to, bring in from property taxes. Moving on now, so that's the revenue side of the equations. Going into the expense side of the equation. So initial department requests came in at just under $46 million. We did a line-by-line review, and we were able to cut just under $2 million in what the department heads were asking. We put that through the blender and felt that it was still a little too high. And I had sent out an email and asked for an additional 3% from all of the departments. We were lucky. We were able to find some savings. We did get an additional 3%. We didn't get as much as we wanted because we're at bone already, but we did go out after we cut $2 million. We asked for an additional 3% and we're given some. Town Support for Education was flat funded, but the staff applied for funding through Representative Larson's office on behalf of the Board of Education. That I have to give credit to Selectman Bishop. He ended up connecting with Rep. Larson. Rep. Larson goes, well, why don't you apply for some grants? And we applied for some grants to help some of the capital projects that WPS needs to do. And we renegotiated service contracts, commodity pricing, IT transit, copier services, electricity, fuel. Fuel, I gotta stop for a second. So I locked in our fuel prices that begin July 1st, 2026. Are unleaded at $2.15 a gallon, and our diesel at $2.46 a gallon. Wow. Somebody was smart that locked it in the day after Thanksgiving on Good Friday. I had heard the markets were going to go, they were going to dip. We locked in at $2.15 on unleaded and $2.86 on diesel. Man, we're going to pick up some savings on that one. So some of the thinking that we do, sometimes you guess right, sometimes you guess wrong, but I didn't think I was going to get that big of a win, but we got a big win on that one for sure. So those are the actions today. It's going to get tiny. This presentation, along with the town manager proposed budget, will be available online tomorrow on our town's website. So if you can't see it, bear with it, but you can see the breakdown. Roughly on the general government side of things, it's a 3.4%. We looked at every line item. We maximized savings. New positions were requested, but we didn't put them in the proposed budget. Blight, code officer, housing inspection, no new positions in the general government side of things. We did include wage differentials for police and public works. You'll see that line item down at employee benefits. You see a 7.1%. We have to go into union negotiations with our police and public works. We don't put a number into their budget yet. Oh, that's the number we want to ask for. We have to negotiate with them. But we also realize that there will probably be increases in those contracts. So we put a number in to the employee benefit line. But right now, general government, roughly $195,000, 3% increase on the general government side of town hall. Moving on to public safety, 6 of 7 newly requested positions had been cut. Lieutenant, patrol officers, 3 firefighters, and a Windsor Locks ambulance chief. A new deputy chief position is being funded.
And I will tell you that that has to deal with a little bit of the police accountability bill, try and get us up to speed on getting accredited from the state of Connecticut. But on public safety, roughly $78,000, 1.9% increase. Public Works, 2 new maintainer positions were requested. They were not pushed forward. No new positions are being proposed in the budget, although there is desperate need to bring on maintainers. Eversource delivery rates, we just had a meeting with them across the hallway. Their rates have increased, but we did pick up some savings because we sold the bachelor school. So happy to report that we were able to take a slight reduction. Interesting note on the bachelor school, after reviewing a lot of the different contracts, reviewing Eversource bills, going back to line by line, and I'll say I missed it last year, we were paying for the electric bill at bachelor school, although the contract said that we shouldn't be paying for it. So we emailed the new owners and asked for $12,000, which is roughly what we paid. They're not ready to write the check. They realize they have to pay it, but we will be getting the money because that's what the contract read. So on the public works side of things, a 1.1%, $26,000 increase compared to last year. Trash and recycling, I think it's important. RRDD1 obviously is a partner with the town, also with New Hartford and Barkhamsted. They took a slight increase, $10,648, 4.4%. Moving on to health. As we have an aging population, we have people that need assistance as well. This includes the Winstead Cares Coordinator, which is contracted agreement with Greenwoods Counseling. That money for, and I'll mention her by name, Sarah Toomey, because she's a wonderful person in our staff and helps so many of us in our community. That's offset by opioid settlement funds. So I'm proposing that we continue the contract that we did for 6 months. Prior Board of Selectmen did. That runs out. Fortunately or unfortunately, she had surgery, so she was out a month. That was actually going to end on June 1st. Because she was out a month, it's going to continue to June 30th. So if this budget passes, we can keep Sarah on and continue the great work that she's been doing. And then obviously our senior services as well do a great job for our aging population. 31,000, roughly an 8.3% increase on the health side of things. Libraries did ask for a 2% increase. We've kept them flat in the proposed budget of roughly $255,666. It's the same level funding since 2024, so it's 3 consecutive years with no growth for the library. Moving on, Parks and Recreation. The proposed budget maintains the staffing needs for all the summer camp programs. We're not taking any type of a cut on the proposed budget for any camp programs. Maintains all of the programs. Keeping in mind, we've gotten creative. Obviously, minimum wage has gone up, which increases wages throughout. But with Parks and Rec and all the wonderful programs they're offer, we're only at a 2.5% increase on Parks and Rec, just under $12,000. Other shared costs. We're trying to do a little bit better job in budgeting. As I get more comfortable with the budget and I start exploring more options, we had $30,000 that was paying for a charter rental that was in the police and public works, and one was paying one and one was paying the other. That's a shared service. When it comes down to several departments sharing something, we put it in the shared service line. So when you look at a line item in the budget, you see an 18% increase. I paused for a second because I needed to say, we were already paying the $30,000. We just reclassed it into the shared services line. And the remaining $48,000 was due to higher costs in telephone, internet, managed IT services, and various software items that just took an increase. And I would say all of those are important functions of government. We obviously need telephones. Some days I wish we didn't, but we do. Internet, and then the software that we use each and every day. For whatever reason, there were hefty increases in those lines from the vendors. Town support for education. This supports utilities at Hinsdale and Pearson, such as water, sewer, refuge, snow removal, postage, heating, gas, electricity, and general maintenance. In that is also the crossing guards that we have out there. Minimum wage went up, so that in fact then changed the crossing guard hourly rate as well. So we did increase town support and education by $1,700, but roughly, flat for, conceivable purposes of what we're doing for town support. But we did apply for Representative Larson. Hopefully we'll be able to address some of the items that Town Support for Education that the Board of Ed had pushed forward. Moving on, debt administration. This was obviously, you're gonna see a 36.6% increase. Back in May of 2022, voters approved that $24 million bond package. The Board of Selectmen, prior Board of Selectmen authorized the second tranche of money to continue the improvements of roads. We were running out of money, came back, we went out and we borrowed an additional $8 million at roughly 3-point-some-odd%. Took it out in 26. First debt service payment is due in 2027. So when you're looking at your debt service from last year to this year, you see the increase of $465. That is the increase in the debt service payment to go back to that $24 million bond package that was approved in 2022. Sometimes I read, sometimes I hear, the town's been paying interest on this money since 2022. That is actually not true. The town is only paying interest on money that it's actually using right now. It didn't go out, it did get authorized to go out and borrow $24 million. We have not gone out and taken $24 million. So far to date, we've taken a tranche of $10 million, $8 million. We do have a third tranche that will probably go out in about 1.5 to 2 years and finish up all of that, which means all of the projects hopefully will be completed as well. Moving on, Board of Education, increase of $2,056,697. That was the approved Board of Education budget, and it was also presented to us on the March 24th public hearing. Operating transfers out. This portion is for capital improvement projects. You'll see that this year we are suggesting that we transfer out roughly $730,000 to fund some of the capital items. We're going to talk about capitals a little bit further on in the presentation, but that is where it comes down in terms of transferring out. The 2020 expenditures, what does it look like? Last year we spent just over $41 million was the approved budget. This year's budget being proposed by me is $43,880,000, a difference of $2,862,862, 7% increase on the expenditure side of the equation. You can see capitals, you can look at it all, and again, this presentation and a line by line will be available on the town's website tomorrow morning. Percent of budget by category. This is important. Where are your tax dollars going? So let's start on the right side. The town operating budget is 33%. The debt service is 4%. Education indirect costs, 2%. Winchester Public Schools, 25%. Gilbert School tuition, 25%. And out-of-district expenses, 9%. And general fund for capitals, 2%. So when you want to look at where $43,880,000 is going, there's the pie, broken up into all the different little categories. Changes in each of the categories. Town operating budget's going up $432,000. The debt service is going up $465,000. Education indirect costs, $1,700. That's for school crossing guards. Winchester Public Schools, $440,000. Gilbert School tuition, $822,400. Out-of-district expenses, roughly $800,000, $793,000, $741,000. And then general funds for capital is actually a slight decrease of $93,000. So you can see how it works. We were playing with little charts, but you can see how each category that we just reviewed, you know, what each of the expenses look like. Capital improvement plan. Two main sources for funding capital projects. First one being the mill rate, driven by, you know, tax dollars being raised. Second one using fund balance. Fund balance dollars come from surplus funds, saved from previous years or years prior. Using these savings does not affect the mill rate. So if we take from our savings account to buy some capital items, that doesn't change the overall mill rate. It just either increases or decreases our savings balance. We like to fund 50% of our capitals through surplus money. The town is in really great shape right now with its general fund. And you'll see in the budget, we're a little bit less than that, but we try not to overburden the taxpayers. Capital requests are obviously very important. They keep the town moving. They make sure that, you know, the streets get plowed and all of that. But we'll go through well, sorry, jumped ahead one slide, but the fiscal year 27 CIP maintains a 50-50 fund balance roughly. You can see that we are looking for about $1.6 million in the capital request for the proposed budget, an increase of roughly $56,000 from last year's budget, a 3.5%. A little bit of a switch though. We're going to use general fund money of 45% and fund balance of 54%. So the year before, the year we're in right now, we used 53% of general fund, which means that affected the mill rate. And the fund balance, we only used 47% of it. This year we're switching it a little bit. We're gonna try and say, keep the mill rate as low as possible as we can to fund these capital items, take a little bit more out of fund balance, but nowhere near the 25 where we only took 4% from the mill rate and the rest was just funded out of the general fund, the fund balance, apologize. So, but roughly 1.6 million in capital requests, and here they are. 59 requests came in. And if, remember, this goes back to the October meetings and the November meetings and the December meetings. We had 59 requests come in from our department heads. I'm not gonna read them all, but there's anywhere from roadside mowers to intersection aprons to Skinner Road pavement to turnout gear. Everybody, you know, each department had their own little thing. It was our job. We sat down, we talked with each department heads. We simply knew we couldn't fund 59 requests. So in our proposed budget, we are dropping it down to 26 projects. We looked at everything. We decided where we wanted to put key investments, and those 26 items are what we're proposing to the Board of Selectmen that we push forward to the referendum. So nothing in particular. Well, here's one in particular that we have to do every 5 years per the state of Connecticut. We have to do a revalve, and every year we've been funding revalve. This is the final year of funding the revaluation, so that's one of those items that you just can't cut because you have to do the revalve beginning next year. So we have to finalize the payment to bring in the company that's going to do the revalve. But we went from 59 to 26 projects. Here are some of those projects, or no, here's all of the projects that we're pushing forward, so it's just basically putting it into different forms, and you can see what's being proposed with general funds and non-general fund dollars. You can look at the reconstruction, some of that's grants, but we push it all forward to show you the projects that we're going to bring forward. Conclusion. It's my favorite slides. So, fiscal year 2026, we're currently in, the mill rate's 29.17. This proposed budget does have a fiscal year mill rate of 31.91, a mill rate increase of 2.74, percentage increase of 9.38%. There's some pictures that are happening right now, so I'll wait. But this is the one that I really drilled down in that. Okay, so what does that mean for me, Paul? What does that mean for me as a homeowner, as a resident? So we looked at it as properties, right? And there's obviously cars and stuff like that. But if you're property run and you have roughly a property value of $215,000, the proposed budget means it's an extra $410 a year. Going on the complete opposite end of that, you have a $500,000 appraised value, assessed value of $350. It's roughly $958 per year, or $2.62 a day. And everywhere in between, obviously. Go right in the middle, $250, which is a $357,000 home, $1.87 a day, or $684 extra a year. $56 a month. Conclusion on this budget. Consistent with last year's approach, the budget is a needs-based budget. There's no frills in this budget. I wish I could say that there was. There's no thrills in this budget at all. Additions are highly limited, and they're targeted investments, in that if we feel that we're going to make this investment, that the payoff is either going to be immediately or down the road. At the same time, municipal government is subject to all the same inflationary pressures, debt obligations, market conditions, labor competition. Is affecting every sector out there. We're not immune to it at all. There's not an employee that doesn't come in on a weekly basis, I need more money, or you know, debt obligations or market conditions. And we saw fuel prices alone. You know, we were good enough to lock in our fuel prices early on, but imagine if I was negotiating fuel prices right now, what those prices could possibly be. But this budget is a result of the financial inaction and stagnation from the state of Connecticut. Can't say it any stronger. All of our boards and commissions have done an outstanding job. But this budget is a result of the financial inaction and stagnation from the state of Connecticut. You can't tell me that we held the towns harmless year over year while you're sitting on billions of dollars of surpluses. Again, maintaining our positive momentum requires continued investments in ourselves. Every dollar we invest today builds stronger public services, safer infrastructure, better schools for generations that follow. Growth and prosperity, they take time. The benefits of strategic investment unfold over years, not months. You're seeing it starting to form now. The work that's being done on our Main Street, it didn't happen overnight. That was years of planning by everybody before me, and including me. But I remember back in college this quote: the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. The remaining schedule. So today, April 6th, we're here, public hearing. After this, we have an agenda item to set some budget workshops up. I think the Board of Selectmen are going to want some questions. They're going to want to look at different scenarios. We're going to set those dates hopefully tonight. But by April 24th, we have to have a budget. Because on May 11th, I'm over at the Gilbert School presenting the Board of Selectmen proposed budget for referendum, which happens, we have a recommendation date of May 26th. We just had to put a date on there. That's going to be decided at that town meeting on May 11th. Thank you for coming. All of this is going to be available on YouTube, Town of Winchester's Facebook page, and our website as well. I'll have the line-by-line detailed report and this presentation. With that, I open it to the board, I open it to the public. Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you. And
All right, so since we have the board section coming up soon, anyone in the audience wish to speak? Come on.
Thanks for giving me the time. My name is David Woodward, and I am recently homeless. I'm a person that requires services, social services and mental health resources, of which there is very little in this town, dare I say none, because I get all of my services from Torrington. Fortunate of me that I have a car and a family that supports me, but apparently this town does not. I want to thank the local police, local ambulance for some recent incidents where they have been there for me. But it's sad to see that we have $40,000 for new computers every year when we could surely save some money on different IT tech. And the reduction of the social services went from $10,000 to $1,000. So there's nothing in this town for social services. I don't understand how that's helping. And I wasn't involved with all of the discussions over the education budget. I hope there's some influx of social services there where improvements are definitely needed. But all of the investment, it would be nice to see new facilities for the police department. That downstairs is old. It's been like that for all of my life. I don't understand why they can't get better facilities. Like the ambulance barn that's been highly invested in, and I commend the services that they offer, but I think more investment for first responders like McCall Behavioral Health Network is investing in mental health first responders to go in alongside police and first responders to be sure that people, if they're having a drug overdose or mental health crisis, they can avoid going to prison or, you know, things that make situations like mine worse. So I again thank you for hearing me tonight, and I don't know if you heard any questions in there, but I appreciate any answers if you have the time.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
said your name was David, right? David, have you talked with our Winstead Cares Coordinator, Sarah Toomey?
She's a friend of mine.
Okay. Sarah does tremendous work for our town, and she makes sure, you know, when you say you've had to go to Torrington, Sarah has, she gives her left and right arm and probably both her feet to help our residents out. She's just a caring person, and I guess it pains me a little bit to hear what you said. I don't take it as a negative, but I take it as, okay, we gotta get better, because I know Sarah has helped people similar in your situation do some great things. So you are in contact with Sarah then?
Yeah.
Okay, good, okay. But I just wanted to make sure that you knew who our Winstead Cares Coordinator was and you knew how to get a hold of her, because she does some great work. Awesome.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to speak? Andy?
Just have a question. I can't see tiny numbers, and I don't think it was up there. Candy Perez, 605 West Wakefield Boulevard. We're getting speed cameras, right, put in soon?
Yes, we are. Well,
Is-
eventually, yes,
Is
I
it
hope.
going to impact this next budget, and how much money have you projected for income?
I have projected no money in this coming year's budget for the speed cameras. Currently, right now, we're on our third rendition of the report to the state of Connecticut. After the second attempt, you know, obviously the thought practice went through my head of should we put some money in, should we not put some money in? The problem with it is you have a revenue line item that could diminish over time, and then you create a hole. So this budget that's being proposed has no speed camera money as a revenue line item.
Yeah, most of my worry was the hole that would be created if it's up there and then it decreases over that. So the whole thing will be put up tomorrow?
Yes. Depending on what time we get out, you never know, it could be tonight too.
Well, if you're slacking.
I know.
See you kind of basketball game.
Oh, yeah, D50.
You hired him. Said you hired him.
No, you guys were there.
Good evening. Frank Oliveri, 108 Shore Drive. I think this is going to be a very tough budget to sell. To the elderly people, retired people, I think it's going to be pushing people out of town. That's all I can say. I know we worked hard on this budget, but I just don't think we can live with it right now. That's all. And next year's going to be worse when the evaluation comes through. So we're only going to make it worse then. But thank you for your time, thank you for your effort, thank you for the hours you put in, thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nora McCarskey, 605 West Wakefield Boulevard, I serve on the Winchester Board of Education. Can you do me a favor, can you go back to that slide with the pie graph that shows what percent is Board of Ed, what percent is the town? It was a 60-40 split. Nice pie chart, pretty colors. Yeah.
Oop, I went too fast.
Right.
That one.
What I'm hoping that you can do is communicate to the community of the education side, which is approximately 60% of which around. Can you clarify how much of that ask is grants? Meaning, what's coming from the taxpayer, excluding grants? Because if we exclude grants, the ask is probably not 60% right there as part of that budget category. I'd like to see the actual ask to the taxpayer in a pie chart that lets the taxpayer know that some grants are really helping us out. I think that's important to educate.
So when you say grants, Nora, are you saying grants that the Board of Ed is receiving?
Right.
So I think, and Dr. Luby and I had a conversation about that, the Board of Education budget isn't a $26 million budget. I
Right.
think it's
It's
30,
eight.
31, 32? 2, 3,
2-3 million.
2, 3
in grants,
million.
right,
So,
right.
you know, I see that obviously in the detailed report of the Board of Education budget, right? I use, so the number that you see,
I think Nora's thinking maybe
I'm just trying to get on
the
this.
26 minus the 8 would be 18 as a percent of, 18 million as a percent of the total budget.
Right.
18 of the 43.
Right. Okay, good job, Denise.
take the ECS out.
Right, plus the 3 million that we receive in grants on top of that.
The 3 million grants isn't reflected.
Yeah, the 3 million is not reflected, because your
Alright.
budget is higher,
Out.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just trying
So
to,
take the ECS out.
if you take the ECS out, I'm just trying to see.
26 million minus ECS.
18,226,571.
Yeah, it's well,
Right,
yeah,
I think the taxpayer needs to see the 18 million.
which is, you're making me go the wrong way, Todd, I think.
Right.
Yeah, you made me go the wrong way. So, we have that. Somewhere. Nope. It was in there, right?
Yes.
18,226,571.
No, not as a,
I'd like
oh,
to
you want the
see
pretty
it.
picture? Oh, you want,
Pie
okay.
chart.
That's
People are
easy,
very
because the
visual.
numbers are already done.
People are very visual, that's it.
We had that.
It's the revenue, there you go.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so you want the pie chart on the 18,226,571.
Right, what the taxpayer is paying,
Got it.
local taxpayer.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak? Last chance this meeting.
Real quick, I noticed a post on Facebook about a traffic safety initiative. Can you go into any detail about that? Or is that not regarding this business, that's separate business?
I'll leave it up to the board. So I mentioned it a little bit earlier during town manager report. So we created a Safe Streets for All committee, which was federally funded grant. It's a $250,000 grant to study our streets, to give us a report of how to make our streets safer. And currently, right now, on social media and also on our town's website, there's a link asking for participation of actual feedback from the residents of Winsted of what they feel about our streets. And I was directed that it's better to click on the link from our sites than any of the other forum sites that are out there. I gotta look at that tomorrow, or possibly tonight, but I gotta fix that. But just go to our sites and the links will work.
Okay, moving on to item C, Board of Selectmen discussion fiscal year 26-27 town budget. I open it up to comments, questions from the board. Anyone?
Well, I want
Cheryl?
to emphasize something that I think Town Manager Harrington was emphasizing. There's been a lot of investment in this town, in our schools, well, promoting businesses, and it is paying off. You know, I moved here 10 years ago, and there were so many vacant storefronts on Main Street, everywhere. There, you know, the schools were coming out of the receivership, and there was a lot of investment, a lot of grants were applied for and obtained in order to help us build the schools up, and we've developed a very good academic program, you know, through WPS. There's people invest in the town now. We would not have Marshalls, Domino's, we wouldn't have the 508 development, we wouldn't have any of these people coming in to invest significant, you know, we're talking millions and millions of dollars in this town in building and businesses if we hadn't done that investment, particularly in the schools. I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with the couple that own the company that purchased 508, that are putting $2.6 million into a building. And I asked them about, you know, what made you do that? And they said, because the town had been investing in itself. They specifically mentioned the schools. They specifically mentioned that the schools were improving. And I said, well, so if the schools were and the town wasn't investing in new infrastructure, education, would you have come? They said no. And they're in the process of actually having conversations with the other people that they've done business with and trying to convince them to come and do business here. We want that, but they need to be able to sell it. And this is the conversation I had with them. And they said if this town starts going backwards, and doesn't continue to invest in its education, if it starts cutting programs, if it starts not continuing to work on the infrastructure, they're never gonna be able to sell to their friends the idea of investing in this town. So all the work that's been done by this last several Board of Ed members, the last several boards of selectmen, is paying off. Marshall didn't decide to, come here a year ago or 2 years ago. Anyone who's had anything to do with corporate knows that these things are long-range plans. They don't go pick a site and then it happens. It's a very long-range plan. And they are gonna study the town, and they're gonna be looking at what's going, is it going forward? Is it stagnating? Is it going backwards? Frank, I understand the concern about the budget. We're all taxpayers here, okay? But if we go backwards, our grand list is gonna shrink again, which means the tax burden will get higher. So you have to invest when you have to. We've tried to keep it flat for a while, but still being creative about investing. If we now go backwards and say, well, we can't do this to the taxpayers, we're gonna do more harm to the taxpayers when the grand list goes down, because businesses aren't going to invest in the town. We're not going to increase the tax base. We're looking at putting more housing to bring more people in to properties. They're gonna be taxpayers. They're going to be changing our grand list. They're gonna be decreasing the tax burden for everyone that's already here. You got to pass a budget. You have to invest in the schools. That is so important, so important. Ask any business person, when they're making a decision to open a business, what are the factors? They're looking at, is there an educated workforce? Is this a place where families with those people with skills going to come into this town, so their kids are getting education? They're not gonna come here if we're not doing that. You gotta do it, and it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt a lot, and I really appreciate the slide that Harrington put up showing what the cost would be broken down by property, because that gives you a realistic number. It gives you an idea how it's gonna hurt. But you know what? Next year it could be less, because we got more businesses coming in. We've got something going on. We're increasing our tax base. I mean, look at it, we've already increased it. That's huge, when it hadn't been happening. So you can look at, we just wanna keep it flat, or we don't have kids or grandkids or nieces or nephews or friends who have kids in the school system, so where's the benefit I'm getting out of an education budget? We're getting that benefit because the whole town is getting the benefit of more people wanting to come here, businesses investing, creating jobs. I mean, think about it. A lot of us know people who took the jobs that Marshall's offered. Those weren't jobs, those jobs that weren't here a year ago. And so that's some new jobs. The construction of renovating these properties, those are jobs. That's money coming into the town. Those people are gonna go into our stores, into our restaurants, and they're going to spend money. That creates revenue for the town. So, you can't just look at what the bottom line is. You have to look at why we feel this is important, why it is important, and why you invest. Like you decide, I'm gonna paint my house. You're painting your house because it's improving it. It's gonna increase the value of it, so that if you wanna sell it, you're gonna get more money for it. Well, the town needs to paint. We need to make this town more equitable. You do that by investing in education and infrastructure. Whether you get a direct benefit from that education, you're gonna get the benefit down the road. So I think that's very important to keep in mind. I've gone through this budget. I have highlights all over the place, and you know what impressed me? Zeros and negatives. There has been such an effort, line item, to reduce stuff, and so did the education budget. But you know what? My utility bills went up, my insurance went up, my income didn't go up. The town's utility bills went up, their costs go up. You can't keep flat and still have progress. That's the important thing. You have to continue your progress. And it seems to me this is being done extremely responsibly. Things asked were denied, things that we probably could use. I know we could use some more teachers, some services, you know. David, you were talking about social services. We could use more people, paras or stuff in our schools to help our kids. But we're trying to be responsible, and we're not adding everything we need. But that doesn't mean we can keep it flat. And if everyone wants this town to progress, you have to support this budget. I went through this with a fine tooth for every item I went through. Highlighted things I have potential questions for, which we'll discuss in workshops. But the thing is, I didn't see any fat here. I've sat on other boards, and I know how to read a budget, and I wish we could ask for more money, but I understand this is a big ask in 1 year, and there's many reasons for it, and I can't agree with Paul more than that the state of Connecticut needs to step the hell up, okay? But we're doing what we have to do, and so, you know, I will have questions about things, and I'm sure there'll be some cuts, but I really hope that we try to look at this as a way of moving forward, progressing, improving the town, improving our whole situation. It will help everyone in this community. That's my little sermon, so.
I think the biggest thing that is kind of not on the radar, that should be on the radar, is the Wallens Hill development. Because that is gonna bring a lot of new people into this town. I mean, we haven't even, you know, we've got it in the works, but we haven't even talked about it that much, so it's not really on the minds of people right now. But that is gonna be a lot of, I mean, you know, Marshall's is great, Domino's is great, but we're talking about like a whole new section of town that's going to bring a whole new group of people, new families. They need places to shop. They're not gonna move here if we let downtown fall apart, you know? We need our businesses to thrive. We need our community to thrive. We need a good education. Where are their kids gonna go to school? I mean, this is a huge, huge undertaking that is so important to our town and will raise our tax base, our grand list so much, that development. And it's gonna, you know, take several years for this to happen, but it's in the works. We've got the proposals going, and I think we need to be preparing. We've gotta have forward vision. If we are just, you know, talking about what we can't do instead of what we can do, what's gonna happen with that? We're not gonna be prepared for all of those new people, and they're not gonna wanna come here, and they're not going to, you know, want to, you know, move into probably what's going to be pretty expensive housing. That's going to bring in a lot of, you know, new taxes and new grand lists to our town. So all I ask is, as we go through this process, and I know that we will make cuts, and, you know, we will bring down that number as best as we can. I just hope that we can all, you know, talk about what we can do together as a town, instead of just, you know, looking at a number and seeing it as just numbers. And, you know, each number is a person. It means something. It means somebody's education. We just need to be thinking about what we can do, what we can accomplish with what we have, not just, you know, an axe because it's a big number and nothing else.
So this will be my 10th, 11th budget in the town. I've seen good and I've seen bad. Will over 9% tax increase pass? Maybe, maybe not. But the seven of us up here have the responsibility to go through this budget line by line, as Cheryl's already started, and put forth the most responsible budget that we can, whether that's add money to some lines, take money from some lines. At the end of the day, we have to live within our means, and we have to make sure that our residents can live within our means. The town manager and I were at a public hearing this last week, and one of the comments that were made by a speaker were what they thought could happen. And that's one thing that we need to make sure that we stay away from, because we don't know what will happen in the future. We have to deal with the cards that we have now. So we need to make sure that we're responsible in the budget now, even though Wallens Hill can be a tremendous windfall for us 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road. We can't count on that now, though. We have to count on what we have. So, yes, there probably will be some cuts in the budget. Will the public get a 9.3?
9.38%.
9.38% increase? Maybe yes, maybe no. The residents have to come out. We have to find a number that they'll support, come out and pass, because at the end of the day, all of the work that we do here, it's not up to us. It's up to the residents to pass the budget or to defeat the budget. So we have to work the best that we can to make sure that we can get the most amount of people out to support the budget, whatever budget we put forward. Anyone else on the board?
Yes, I'd just like to remind everybody, and this is not beating a dead horse, that last year's budget only passed by our miracle 8, only by 8 votes, that's all. So to bring in $2 million, we need 400 homes paying $5,000 a year taxes. There's $2 million right there. 400 homes. I don't see that happening, like the mayor said, now. I don't think that this budget's gonna pass like this. If we push it forward like this, I don't think it's gonna pass. Because I don't know about the rest of you guys, after last year, I got hammered pretty hard. How much that went up. So, and I know we are investing. People are investing some money. There's a lot of people investing a lot of free time into the town. And I look at former Selectman Perez, because she's almost like me, she's everywhere. Investing in the town, not just money, but work, stuff to be done. We got the Sue Grossman Trail that's coming. That, I think, and someone please correct me if I'm wrong, I think that brought $10,000 to $15,000 extra into the town just by people walking that trail. So we are investing, but how much can we afford this year? Yes, stuff is coming down the road. A lot of this stuff that Town Manager Harrington read off we're not even collecting anything off of it this year. Marshals, we're not collecting anything off of it, none of it. And we certainly can't count on that ticket money, because that will create a hole in the budget, and that's what we have to be careful. Even with the schools, yes, you guys are getting grants and stuff, as long as it goes into capital, it doesn't go into your budget, because that will create a hole. I was just looking from the last superintendent, and she was saying even in then, and that was 2 or 3 years ago, there's gonna be a hole, there's gonna be a hole. And that hole is starting to come and rear its ugly head, and that's my biggest concern. Like I've shared before, I'm looking at things a little differently this year. It's easy to spend money, it's easy to spend it, but we gotta bring it in. We gotta have that revenue side, and it's gonna be tough this year. I don't believe in a zero flatline budget. I don't know how they did it for all those years back then. I think it was like 7, 8 years. I think that's when the school was under receivership. They not only flatlined the budget, they flatlined the mill rate. And that's kind of coming back a little bit and catching up to us here, because everything was flat. Like I said, I don't believe in a zero budget. You have to, things are going up. Insurance has gone up by almost over $1 million just for health insurance for people. What's going on? And the more I get involved politically, it's all coming down to the state of Connecticut. I'm even worried we're not even gonna get the $7 million that we're supposed to be getting from the ECS. Because they're looking at a little deficit in their budget this year. You know, they don't even, they took $350 million that was supposed to come back to the schools, that everybody's paying an extra % when you go out to dinner. It goes to the general fund. What's the state doing with our money? What are they doing with it? There's no accountability. They're unfunded mandates. It just drives me right up a wall. An unfunded mandate. And that's what's happened over the years. All these unfunded mandates. You gotta have this, you gotta have that. And the schools, they still have to operate, even if you lose students, they're still gonna have to operate at the same level that they're at, because of the MBR, the minimum budget requirement, unless you go and you talk to the state of Connecticut. So I really think 2.7% increase, or it's 9.38 is the ask with a increase of 2.74. I don't think that's gonna pass. And we are gonna have to do some reduction. There's no way around it. So, and there's my statement, counselor, so to speak, not my sermon, but my statement. So my sermon might come a little bit later. So, because we're gonna need God on this.
Everything I hear from the people in this town is roads, roads, roads. And I want everybody to know that's watching and that's in this room, that this budget has 0 for roads. So just, if we're investing in our town, we're not investing in our town because our roads are going backwards and backwards. And we're at the point right now that I don't even think we would ever be able to recoup from where we're at. So, I just want everybody to know that that's gonna be, you know, I asked for $1 million to be put in for roads this year. That was taken out before it even came to this. And here we are at a 2.74 mill rate increase. I mean, it's ridiculous. The people that the school is one thing, but, you know, other people, some people don't have kids and they want their roads fixed, and that's not in this budget. So, you know, somebody's gonna have to take a beating on this. It's gonna go down, and I will not support a 2.74 mil increase or a 9% increase, so.
I'm hearing the same thing. Roads, we wanted to put some money into buildings in this town. Every town building I look at, the roofs are leaking. This building, we have buckets in catching right. We have no money for that. Playground buildings, public works building, maybe funded in the future. That building's just about falling down. I've been through every inch of that building with Jimmy. It's in really rough shape. So, I'm hearing the same thing, but that being said, everybody I know is scared to death of taxes going up. They took a hit on the last reval, they're scared to death of the new reval coming up. See what's gonna happen there. I don't see it flying either, and I'm not supporting it at that percentage either.
Wasn't one of the biggest increases the debt service on the $24.7 million road bond? Because it's an ongoing process, right?
Yep.
It was a 5-year process. So Mr. Rollins came in and gave us a nice presentation about how we are making progress on the roads. And I even asked in that meeting, you know, overall, are we going ahead or are we going backwards on the roads? And Mr. Rollins said we're definitely moving ahead. So I know I wish we could move ahead at a faster rate, and I know everybody does, but I just wanted to say that, like, it's not like we're not investing in roads. We have a $24.7 million bond, and one of our biggest increases is the debt administration on that bond. So it's not that no roads are being repaired.
That bond though was for a specific set of roads.
Correct.
Yeah.
And when those roads were quoted many years ago, the cost of paving those roads has almost doubled. So that, all those roads that 24 million was gonna get, we're getting half of those roads now.
Yeah, but we're still doing the roads.
We're
still working on roads.
we're doing a few roads.
And we
Projects.
can't do them all, we
Right.
couldn't take the 26 million and do all the roads at once. We don't have the people for that. It would be a disaster. So it has to be done in stages, and that was a decision made by the prior board and the board before that, probably. I know it wasn't on the board that I was on. So, I mean, that was a decision that's been made over the course of 2 or 3 boards. You know, but roads are on there. But, you know, I don't know whether, you know, any of you gentlemen took up Dr. Luby's offer to sit down and have a private meeting with her and go through the budget and have her explain it. If you haven't, I really suggest you do, so you can understand how bare bones it is. She has volunteered her time, show you around the school, what they do, and you'll have an understanding of how important that is. That's something that you should do if what you're looking at is talking about the education budget, because that's the biggest half, and do that. And then go over to, sit down with, Mr. Susi and Gilbert and have him explain his budget as well. That is a responsible thing to do if you're questioning, because yes, I remember earlier on hearing a comment from you, Bill, about how we just get one sheet in our budget book by the Board of Ed. Well, I contacted Dr. Luby and she sent me her entire budget. It's available, line item, everything.
This year,
Paper
yeah.
clipped. No, you could get it last year. It's available. You just have to ask, and she's willing to sit down, especially with people who are, on the Board of Selectmen who make decisions. I know, I went there, and Kevin and I went there. We went there, we talked to her, and went through things. So.
And that's your right and privilege, and if you support this budget, you absolutely can.
No, but I'm saying
just
that
saying in
before
public
you.
that I'm not supporting it.
I understand, but what I'm saying, before you decide which one to cut, you should be educated on what's the basis of the ask, and what the result will be of any significant cuts. As I said when I spoke earlier, I know things are gonna get cut. I'm not saying this is a end result. We know that's not the end. A proposal is never the end. There's always negotiations, there's always tweaking here and there. But, you know, if you're going to just say, I won't agree to any increase in the education budget, which is a big ask here, make sure you understand the budget before you do that.
Did you hear either I say we aren't gonna support any increase?
I didn't say that at all. I'm just saying, if you're going to be looking to cut, that's something that needs to be, you just need to, we have an obligation to this community to understand the finer things of the budget. And not just what the town proposed, but what WPS is proposing, what Gilbert's proposing. Those things are out there and available. There's a reason that the WPS went through a lot of work. They did a lot of work trying to get to a budget. They cut. They were just fine-tuning. There was a lot of work that went into that. And, I watched all the meetings. I've sat down with the super, and I've gone through it. And, that gives you a perspective. So I think I would just suggest that that's done for any member of this board to get a full understanding, because she's willing to do it.
But don't worry, we're gonna cut Paul's budget too.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's just gonna be, but I know the Board of Education budget's is a big part of this.
It's the insurance is a big driver, it's the health insurance, and that's
It's
just,
horrible.
it's sad, because we're being penalized because people are using it and people need it.
Yeah,
That's sad.
that's very sad.
They're paying it. I recently clipped a deer coming back after Thanksgiving. It cost $6,000 to repair my truck. My insurance went up $1,000 a year. So I might as well just pay for it out of my own pocket. And that's just, what was the point of having insurance after paying $35,000, $40,000 for 40-something years I've been driving?
It's,
That's sad.
make a lot of money, don't they?
All right, so we need to set up some workshop dates.
Yes, and I have a question, if it's possible, on some of these workshops. It would be nice to have Dr. Luby and Superintendent.
So before we get into workshops,
If you can.
if I can say this to the board, so, thank you, Selectman Hester, for graciously wanting to cut my budget. It's fine. But in all honesty.
It's not in the budget.
And I wanna temper emotions a little bit right now. So, this was a budget that was prepared for March 13th is when I turned it over to the Board of Selectmen. Between that day and even up until today, I have found more efficiencies. This presentation is being based on the proposed budget that I gave the Board of Selectmen on March 13th. Our first budget workshop, the first item, if the board allows, is I'm going to come in with adjustments of continuing work that we continue to do each and every day. Just because I passed over the budget on March 13th to this board, we haven't stopped trying to find efficiencies throughout town government. And we are gonna come to that first budget workshop with some of the, is it a $3 million? I'm gonna temper some expectations. It's not $3 million worth of efficiencies, but we are continuing every single day. So why my town manager report was a little bit shorter, and they will be for the next month, is that the only thing that our office is concentrated on is trying to find more efficiencies, the best that we can do. We're still out, it's small, it's something, but you're going to see a copier line item drop $6,000. We renegotiated the copier contracts. It's $6,000. I'm taking it, okay? But in this budget, it's $6,000 higher. So in the first budget workshop, I'm gonna ask you to reduce the copier line item by $6,000. We locked in a contract, we saved some money. So again, tempering expectations that this is the proposed budget of the information that we had on or before March 1st, because then we had to start putting together. But the work has continued to find efficiencies, and we have found more efficiencies. So even before the board has a chance to cut my budget, I'm gonna offer up some efficiencies. Yeah, I'm gonna have some efficiencies that I wanna present to you, and it's up to you, because after tonight, it does become selectmen proposed. But I do wanna offer up that this number was a second in time of all of the information that we had just before we put it together. But the work continues and will continue up until our last budget workshop to continue to find more efficiencies that we can offer up and see what the board
What
wants
is
to
it,
do.
a marathon?
It is not a sprint, it is a marathon. I say that every year, so.
I invite anybody to come in here and help us, figure out from revenue to expenditures, how we're gonna keep that mill rate down. If anybody's got any ideas, I invite them from the town. Please come to the meetings.
And just so everybody knows, and that's watching at home, this is our budget that we get that's in front of the mayor. That's how big that budget is. And it is line by line.
How many pages was it? I know I told you, I forgot. 900 and something?
It's measured in feet, not in inches.
We did count this year.
So we're looking at 2 workshops next week. Is everyone available the 13th, Monday?
Yes. We have, we had that already on the schedule.
I might not be, I gotta look.
So,
I didn't know the dates, so I have to look at my thing.
just for scheduling purposes, because it will have to be a noticed meeting, I will note that planning and zoning does have a meeting that night, but obviously we can potentially move them into the blue room. I'll work on logistics. Start time. Sometimes these
Make it
meetings go
earlier.
late, but I know professional schedules sometimes.
Yes, I don't think Selectman Marino can get here much earlier than before 7 o'clock, but you'll have to talk to him.
I'm here, so. just tell me when
7's
you-
fine?
All right, so 7 o'clock on the 13th. Dr. Luby, when are you,
That's the only night between now and the end of the month that I can't.
but you can be here on the 14th, right? That's that Tuesday. So if the board so pleases, maybe we can take on the general government side of things on the 13th. I'll put an invitation out if the board wants to Dr. Luby and Superintendent Susi for the 14th.
Could we do the Wednesday or the Thursday instead?
I cannot do
15.
Thursday.
Wednesday, the 15th?
And I cannot do Wednesday the 15th.
I can't do Wednesday either.
That's the job meeting that I have to go to. That one pays more.
Go the following week?
That's a cover.
I want to go 2 days next week, because I think we need to, unfortunately, or fortunately.
I mean, I might be able to skate on the 15th. Just have to let my coworker do it, which he's gonna have to do it sooner or later anyway.
15th is fine for me.
I'll have to check, I don't think so, but we'll check.
15th is,
I can do 14, 15, 16,
okay.
every night.
We have to check with Gilbert, but I can get an email out tomorrow. So 13th and 15th, and then the 20th is another Board of Selectmen meeting, which we could also make it a workshop that night as well, with hopes of possibly on the 20th finalizing the budget.
Is that when it's,
We
If
could do the 24th.
it's due the 24th,
So we can always have a special meeting to
as long as it doesn't last till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning?
well,
I
it
won't be
may.
here.
Well, they do sometimes, so.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so 13th at 7, 15th at 7, 20th is a Board of Selectmen night, but we can make it a Board of Selectmen night with a budget workshop with hopes of a finalization of a budget that night. After the 20th, we'll decide if we need to go into extra innings, who knows? Is there anything that the board would like questions to, because we're gonna move quick, anything coming to mind? If you have something tonight, great. If you wanna email it to me so I can come prepared to the meeting, that would be helpful, because I think you guys wanna take action. So anything prior to, if you wanna know whatever, get it to me either now or, via email. And then this way I can come to the 13th prepared to answer any questions you all may have. Nothing for tonight? No homework assignments? It's okay.
All right, moving on to item E, 2611, proposed line item transfer by the Director of Finance. Town Manager Harrington.
Let me just catch up real quick and I'll be right with you. So this one is 26-11. We overspent the street department maintenance of equipment line. It's mostly due to a $32,000 worth of overdue repairs for a 2008 John Deere grader Fortunately, we were able to scavenge enough sand from our pile to get through this past winter without running out, so we are safe in transferring $20,000 from the sand for ice control to cover the overage to repair this John Deere 2008 grader.
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the above action step 26-11, budget transfer number 2026-05 totaling $20,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you.
26-12, proposed line item transfer, Town Manager Harrington.
So this is continuing the progress on the completion of the Sue Grossman Still River Greenway. The town must retain a soil science and environmental service to locate and flag soils and prepare a soils report for the project area before vegetation buds. Delaying this work until after budding season, which would mean we would wait until July 1st. We put it in the budget, would significantly increase both the time and costs required to complete it. Because the work must proceed immediately, it will occur before a grant agreement is executed, so we can't use any grant funding for this. It will not be eligible for reimbursement. Cardinal Engineers estimates is about $10,000. We want to move, because there's enough in contracted, in engineering services, so we want to move $500 from contracted services and $5,000 from contracted labor into the engineer services so we can get this report done, so we can unlock this grant funding.
So moved.
Thank you, Troy. Is there a second?
Can you guys just, action step 26-12, budget transfer 2026-06, totaling $5,500?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Unanimous?
Thank you, Public Works.
26-13, proposed line item transfer, Town Manager Harrington.
So this is an EDC request of a budget transfer within their own budget. It's a marketed initiative focused on video and social media contact for LinkedIn and CTV platforms. The marketing line currently has a remaining balance of $2,000, which is insufficient to cover the $3,000 cost of this initiative. At the same time, EDC does not anticipate fully expending the outside services line of their budget. The reallocation of the funds will fund the work while maintaining the overall budget and effectively using available resources prior to June 30th. I can tell you they're taking that video and making shorts of it and then going to do all types of commercials. We're building more momentum, I guess.
Good.
Excuse me, this has not been signed off by the head of the department yet. So
There is no head of the department for
wouldn't it be
EDC.
the chair of the commission? I'm just saying that there's, okay, so there is no, I just want to make sure this is done right. Because
Because it's a volunteer board, you brought up an interesting I know, and I can tell you that both Dewey and Tom have, they brought it to our attention, yeah.
But it's just, can we take action on it?
But they're not a department head, they're volunteers.
They were
so-
volunteers. You could say, you're gonna potentially, approve the action step
You can say
with,
it.
with the
We control the
reassurance
money, so-
that the EDC chair is in agreement,
Okay.
if that works.
So moved, action step 2613. Chairman is aware of the movement of the money. Budget transfer 2026-07 totaling $1,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
26-14, proposed line item transfer, Town Manager Harrington.
So a third recruit at the police academy was cut during the 26 budget process, but it was still is necessary. Additional training is required for our young and inexperienced staff. We do not expect using the remaining funds in the education tuition incentive by June 30th. So we're just trying to get a benefit that's not being used by our police officers. We want to get some of our newer officers some more training.
So moved, action step 2614, budget transfer 2608 or 07?
No,
26-08? How come everything else is 07?
No, it was 07, then you
Says
have
08.
07.
No, that's the number. That's
No, it's the
transfer.
number, you have 06, 07, 08.
What's that say? Budget transfer 26.
That's
08.
your 08. Yeah.
Dash 08.
The other was 07, and before
The other
that
one
was
was
06.
07. So we-
5, 6, and 7.
Oh, there's the number, that's the number, okay.
Yeah, so we keep an
I
Excel
thought that was
file
a
that we
year.
give to the auditors.
Gotcha.
So
That was the
it-
year, sorry. Totally $5,000.
I'll second. Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Bill. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
Just happened to be
Just
right
like the
there.
professionals, yeah.
Item 11, citizens' comments. Board of Selectmen welcomes public comments. Speakers be limited to 3 minutes or less and may speak once.
Oh,
We're in trouble.
We knew it was coming.
This is really easy. Jim Rollins, Director of Public Works. Just one thing I'd like to bring to the attention of whoever's watching as well as the board. The Safe Streets for All that Town Manager Harrington was talking about, the link that's on the website, it's important that we get as much action through that as possible. What I learned about this process is public involvement is a significant piece of how much money we get later. So the more we put into this as far as volunteer time, answering surveys, that kind of stuff, all gets put into the equation when they start doling out the money associated with this. So involvement is huge. So anybody that can, you know, that, their information that they put in is really gonna be instrumental in getting more and more revenue. We wanna reach out to EDC, all those other organizations that we were talking about. We wanna get as much public input on this as possible, because it brings in more money, that's all.
thank you, Mr. Rollins.
Thank you. Item 12, executive session. Discussion, strategy, and negotiations regarding emergency services pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 1-206. Have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
You wanna bring them
With Town Manager
in?
Harrington.
Yes, you all wanna
You
go
don't
by
wanna bring
yourself.
you.
All in favor? Enter exec session at 8:54.
We should be 3 minutes. This is when it starts getting
Make a motion to come out of executive session? I did.
We have a motion to come out of executive. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? We are out of executive session at 9:08. We have no actions to take for new business. Moving on to item 14, Selectmen's comments and reports. Does anyone have anything to report on? Item 15,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Good night, everybody.
Good night.